In this video, I'm going to be sharing the 3 downsells that I sold in my company that made close to $30 million. Now, I had a business that did close to $58 million. There was actually maybe like 5 or 6 million of payments that are not accounted for here that we'll be going over. But we sold online coaching programs, online courses, done-for-you services, and a lot of people that run these kinds of businesses, maybe that's you, will oftentimes get very, very focused on just getting new clients in the door, getting people to buy your front end offer, as they say. However, as I'm going to show you here, this is all of the money we made in the business, basically $59-ish million. Only about half of that, 33 million, came from what I would call a front end offer. Meaning there's about $26 million here that was from people that said no to basically our front end offer, who we wouldn't have worked with otherwise unless we had other things to offer to them. And this is, basically the business mindset that every business on earth does. Like Apple did not, obviously Apple started off with just one product, but now no matter how much money you want to spend, no matter what you're looking for, you can go into the Apple store and you're going to walk out with some amount of money invested, basically. And that's the kind of mindset you want to have as a business. Obviously, when you're just getting started, if you're just trying to make your first, 10,000, 50,000, 100,000, you're going to want to do that with one offer. However, very, very quickly, I would recommend having downsells that ultimately can feed into the main offer. This is one of the biggest things that we noticed is maybe someone would get on a sales call, they would say no to the main front end offer that we were trying to sell them, but they would say yes to a downsell that we would offer to them maybe like a week or two later. And then over the span of maybe a couple weeks, a couple months, they would actually come back and invest into the main front end offer that we had been trying to sell them. So it really just comes down to having a library of products that people can invest in. If you're only giving people the opportunity to buy one thing from you, you're ultimately going to be leaving a lot of money on the table because not everyone is a one-size-fits-all customer. So getting into these 3 downsells, which ones were the ones that made the most amount of money? The first one was ultimately one that fed around the same core belief as the front-end product that we were selling, but, big but, it was something that was lower barrier to entry, meaning it was easier for someone to get started. So this was true on 2 dimensions. The first was price. This was a cheaper product. Our main core front-end product was $10,000. The best-selling downsell that we've ever had was $5,000. So it was half the price. First of all, it was a lower barrier to entry on price for someone to get started. Second of all, and this is what I see a lot, it was not as intensive. So our main front-end product had a lot of things inside it. Like it was basically a coaching program with a ton of done-for-you services included in it. People got to work with like 5 different coaches inside of it. It would usually take about 3 to 6 months of time. It felt and sounded like a lot, which is good because then it sounds like, it's a really no-brainer offer. It sounds like, people are going to get a lot of help, a lot of hand-holding. However, what will happen a lot of the time is a lot of that stuff will feel intimidating. Think about, if you were going to hire a personal trainer, you're going to hire someone to help you work out in the gym. If you're just kind of like considering the idea, you're not super serious about it yet, and you talk to a trainer who's like, okay, we're going to put you on this intensive meal plan. We're going to be watching, every single meal you do, and then you're going to be getting up at 7 a.m. to work out with me here. You're obviously not going to be that excited about this offer. Like, yes, you would imagine, okay, if I do this, this probably is going to help me lose weight and to get into shape. But not everyone is ready for the full boot camp version of whatever it is that you're selling. Even if it is the thing that gets the best results, that maybe makes the most amount of money, you need to have something that sounds less intensive, less intense, essentially. Really easy way to think about this is if you have kind of like 3 steps, 3 components, 3 things that are included in your main offer, literally just take one of those. Take the first step, or even half of the first step, and make that its own offer. And that alone could be the thing that does get someone to eventually invest into that core front-end high-ticket offer. However, again, just because something sounds like a lot, it sounds like it's going to help someone, it sounds like it's going to, give them a ton of useful guidance and advice. Most people do not buy things like that. Most people need to be baby stepped into working with something. So basically, the idea is that we're selling around the same core belief, the same thing that brought them in, the same thing that got them interested to click on an ad, to book a sales call, to say, yes, what you're offering is something I need help with, but I'm not ready to do it at this super high level yet. Usually you could do it for, I would say, like 25 to 50% of the price of your main front end offer, and make it maybe like 20% to 30% as intensive, as much of a boot camp as whatever the main thing that you're selling is. So that's key number one, the first downsell that made the most amount of money. The second downsell that I'm actually currently selling now that I'm really, really excited about is basically using AI as a product. So if you're watching this video, I'm assuming you sell, some sort of information product, some sort of online course, coaching, consulting, maybe, there's done-for-you services included inside of that. Alex Hormozi, I stole this from him. He had that huge launch where he did like $100 million in a single day, or like a couple days or something like that, where he was like selling this $6,000 bundle. And one of the components of that bundle that then he realized after the fact was one of like the most desired aspects of it was basically Hormozi AI, which was a custom AI that was trained on all of his books, all of his social media content, like all of his coaching and consulting work that he's done. But most importantly, you could use it to basically like run the marketing and like the sales and different aspects of your business that he himself like consults with. You can basically get like a miniature robot version of Alex Hormozi sitting on your computer 24/7. And people were so interested in just that component. After that huge launch, he actually relaunched that AI. A lot of people don't know this, but it's a huge, huge pivot, in my opinion, of what he's doing with his business model, where he's selling Hormozi AI exclusively for a $3,000 upfront. Just write this down. $3,000 upfront, and then $300 a month subscription. And it's not the most expensive thing in the world. There's definitely things that I'm sure he sells that are a lot more expensive. But it's also a lot more expensive than most software. Most people think about software being like $50 a month, $100 a month, whatever. But this, when I saw him do this, it really opened up my mind of how you should be thinking about these downsells and these cross sells and these different offerings. Because ultimately, as an offer, this makes a ton of sense. If you are going to hire a mid-level employee who maybe has a fraction of the experience and the expertise that Alex Hormozi has, the minimum you're going to be paying is like $4,000 to $5,000 a month. Like that's like $50,000, $60,000 a year. Like you're not giving someone an incredible living wage. So to pay $3,000 once and then be able to only pay $300 a month, like literally cheaper than the price of a virtual assistant, is a pretty incredible deal, because this tool and the software is literally something that can go to work inside of your business. It can create offers, it can create sales scripts, it can create marketing material, pretty much exactly how Alex Hormozi himself would, because it's trained on all of his information. So this is something that I started doing in late 2024, early 2025. I wasn't using this same pricing model to start, but now that I have, and this, in my opinion, is one of my favorite downsells that I've ever sold, mainly because it is pretty much zero work to run it. So the downsell that I talked about in the first part, and then the third one that I'm going to be talking about, they were very much products that needed to have their own customer service teams. They needed to have their own dedicated team members to running them. And like I showed you above, a lot of them made a good amount of money. So this one made like 5 million, two made over 5 million. This one made 4 million. This one made 6 million. They made a good amount of money, but they were kind of like miniature companies. They needed to have overhead. They needed to have time and investment dedicated to them. Like they weren't just like background, set it and forget it offers. The way I feel about this is it's probably the closest thing you could get to just set it and forget it. Like it obviously takes time to build the AI. It cost me almost $125,000. Close to 3 months to build out my Lucas AI. But now in selling it, it is literally the most hands-off. I don't have a single employee or a single team member that works on it. It pretty much just works. in the background of my business. And in the past year, it's made a little over $1 million. So it's not the highest revenue, but in my opinion, it's the highest dollar per hour, because I'll maybe invest, I don't know, a few hours a week, kind of just like checking on things, doing maintenance. But other than that, there's no work that goes into it. So if you compare the amount of time, the amount of effort that goes into making, $100, $1,000, $10,000 with every single product, I think this one is the absolute highest. And it's one of the reasons why we've taken everything that we've built now, me and my engineer that I'd partnered with to build our AI, Lucas AI, we're actually offering it to entrepreneurs who maybe want to do the same thing. So if that sounds interesting, there's a link in the description. But I would encourage you to obviously do research and see if this makes sense for your offer, for your business. Alex Hormozi is obviously the main one. Tony Robbins, biggest mindset coach in the world, he's doing this as well. So there's a lot of ways that you can make this work inside of your business. But I'm sure, if you're like a doctor, or if you're like a lawyer, there's probably a lot of like regulations and things around AI that you'd want to be careful of. So I don't think it can work with every business. However, if you're doing marketing, you're doing business coaching, mindset coaching, really anything that kind of takes place over a call, over Zoom, anything like that, if all of those calls and all those communications are recorded, you have a ton of proprietary data that you can use to feed and train a custom AI model, which is what makes this so powerful. So that, in my opinion, is my personal favorite. If you can tell, I'm a little biased, but that's the whole reason, that we obviously started doing that, was because it had done so well for us. Now, the third and last type of upsell that so many people overlook, they don't imagine it makes a lot of money, because usually the price points are not that exciting, but it's low ticket recurring. So one of the things that, or I guess two of the things. We had two products that collectively did close to those numbers that I was mentioning before, like the 5-6 million. One of them was $9 a month. And then the other one was $149 a month. Collectively, these two together, and I'm guesstimating because I don't have the numbers in front of me, and this is obviously not to say that you're going to do the exact same thing with your business, but collectively, these would each do about $200,000 a month, while our business was doing around $3 to $4 million a month. So a lot of people would look at that, and they would think, well, that's kind of stupid. That's kind of pointless. This is like literally like a rounding error. This is literally 8% of the total revenue. However, two very important things that you have to understand. Number one, this was pure profit. So these, in addition to the AI that I was mentioning before, they did have customer support people, but it was like two virtual assistants. Like, it was very hands-off, probably the next closest thing to like truly like an automated product that does not have to function as a company. This was pretty much pure profit outside of maybe like $2,000 a month in like employee costs. It was very hands-off for me. I maybe had to spend, a couple hours a week on it, and they did not require ongoing updates, I would say. So a lot of programs, a lot of courses, as you probably know, you're constantly going to have to update them every few months, every year maybe. They're going to get stale. But these are things that we pretty much created once and we sold them forever, because this was a membership site where we would basically take the coaching calls that we were doing inside of our other programs. We would take one of those a week. We would put it into the membership site. So then if people wanted to watch a recording of a coaching call, they couldn't join them live. But if they wanted to watch a recording of one, they didn't have to invest $5,000, $10,000 into one of our highest level programs. This also was a software, which we actually white labeled. It was not something that we developed, completely custom. This was a software that was included in our highest level, highest ticket front end program. However, again, if someone didn't want to invest $5,000, $10,000, they could just get the software independently for $149 a month. So these were both components of things that we had already created. They were assets that were kind of just sitting, proverbially collecting digital dust, that we realized if we could just extract these into their own independent products, people probably would pay for them. And again, I'm not talking about doubling your business or tripling your business, but an extra $200,000 a month in profit where this could cover your advertising costs, or a good chunk of them. It could cover a really good chunk of like employee overhead costs of all other aspects of the business. These are not things that I would ignore, especially given the fact that like the AI product that I was mentioning before, they're very hands-off. I'm not going to say they're like passive income because, you know, it's a business. You still have to do certain things. But again, if you think in terms of dollar per hour, so if I make $1 million, but I have to work, I don't know, 1,000 hours to make that, I'm pretty sure that's $1,000 an hour. Am I right? $1,000 an hour. Someone can spot check that, but you understand what I'm saying. Versus if I make $1 million and I work, let's say 100 hours, let's make it right, even numbers. Now I'm making $10,000 an hour. And you might, you know, I used to think like, well, obviously this is stupid. If I'm making $10,000 an hour, I'm just going to keep working more hours. But if you think about the biggest businesses on the planet, they're almost all leveraged. And that is the key. And this is the reason why all of this works so well, is because you are creating leverage from things that you've already created, from customers and leads and sales calls that already happened. They're already just sitting in your CRM. They're sitting in your email marketing tool, just waiting to collect money. So we're not going out and like creating a whole new funnel. We're not creating all new ads. Like all of this was just internal remarketing to people that had already expressed interest in at least one of our business services before. And all we are doing is repurposing something or recreating something out of the assets that we already created, whether that's literally taking a component of a higher level product or, you know, creating an AI from all the assets that you already have. The goal here, and the reason any business can scale, is because the revenue and the impact and the success of that business is completely detached from anyone's time. So everything I'm using to make this video, it's all software. Software is a good example where theoretically someone can create it, and whether it's used by 1,000 people, 10,000 people, or 10 million people, the software should function the exact same. And I know there's some engineer who's going to be like, well, it doesn't work like that. You have to scale this up. But it's like, that's obviously much easier to scale than me sitting down with someone and like creating their ads for them, or me sitting down with someone and like coaching them on what they need to fix in their funnel. Those are not exactly leveraged business models. And as I've shown you, there's a lot of money to be made just in making use of the leads and the information that your business already has. And in my opinion, it makes your business more valuable. If you ever have a down month, if your front end product, your high ticket offer is not selling as well, these sorts of products can be the things that alleviate a ton of the stress. They just cover your costs, cover your overhead, and it buys you time to figure out something else on the front end. So while I'm not talking about, again, like make $1 million a month or, you know, double your business overnight, these are the sorts of maybe unsexy things that are going to make a business more valuable, that are going to help it last longer, and ultimately are going to keep more of that money in your pocket. Again, $200,000 a month when you're making $3 or $4 million a month, that is pretty significant. Like for a lot of businesses that I know, this could literally be doubling their profit margins. So if this was helpful, leave a comment, subscribe for more. I hope it was useful, everything that I shared.